This is lesson 71 in Saxon's Algebra 1/2, second edition. And this lesson is going to be on percents and percents less than 100, the percent equation. So let's get right down to it. This lesson talks about, it teaches you to draw diagrams before you start solving word problems. And I think that's important to help you visualize this and to be able to figure out the missing number. Alright, so on the left you're going to have two circles. On the left is going to be the before circle, and the right is going to be the after circle. The before circle always starts out at 100%, and it usually gives you a number that is 100%. Alright, then the second circle is going to be the after. After that 100% is broken up or reduced in some way. So, like in your book, this is the example. And you can see that the two numbers on the left here, these two, the 42 and the 98, those are always going to have to add up to the total of this number. And these two numbers on the right, the percentage numbers, always have to add up to 100%. So you take what you have and you subtract and you find the missing numbers. So let's do one of those. Okay, so this one says before is 600, and 600 is at 100%. Alright, 180 is A percent, and then B is 70%. So we need to find A first, and to do that, we're going to say 600, which was the 100%, minus 180, we get 420. So B here is going to be 420, and that is 70% of 600. Then that means that 180, if this is 70%, then the missing percent is 30. So A is 30%. So now we know that if we break 600 up into two different percents, 30% and 70%, 180 is 30%, and 420 is going to be 70% of that number. Alright, so here we have a word problem, a word sentence, and we're going to make it into a mathematical sentence to solve it. So I'm going to do it just like this. I'm going to say 20%, I'm going to write that as a fraction, 20 over 100, times what number is 240. Alright, and to solve that, to get in by itself, I'm going to invert and multiply. 100 over 20. And I'm going to do the same thing here. And I can cross cancel here. I know that 20 will go into itself one time and into 240 12 times. So now I know that n is equal to 12 times 100 or 1200. Then your book tells you to draw a diagram of this problem. Alright, so that we know that at 100% the number is 1200. That's at 100%. But then we know the after is going to break that up, and 240 is 20%. And we need to find out what is the other percent. Well, 100 minus 20 is 80%. So we need to find out what number is 80% of 1200. We can do that by saying 1200 minus 240 is 960. So your book is going to tell you to work it out. That's this step right here. And then draw a diagram of the problem, filling in all the spaces. Alright, let's do this one. 20 is what percent of 400. Alright, well we need to get W by itself, so the first thing we're going to get rid of is this 400. We're going to divide by 400 on both sides. We get rid of that. 20 over 400 will reduce to 2 over 40, which would be the same as 1 over 20. 1 over 20 equals what over 100? We're going to multiply by 100 to cross cancel these out. So we'll multiply by 100 here, and 100 divided by 20 is 5. So 20 is 5% of 400. Alright, and if we draw a diagram of that, we would have our 100% right here, and 400 would be in that, and then here we've got the 20%, so that would make this one 80%, is. If this is 5, then this would have to be 300, oh sorry, this is 20. 5%, I got those wrong. Let's go back and try this again. 20 is 5%. So then 400 minus 20 is 380 is 95%. Alright. Going ahead to your practice problems. This one just tells you to figure out the missing numbers A and B. Alright, so before at 100% we have of 70. I'm sorry, 700. That should be. 700 is the beginning, and it's 100%. Alright, let's do the percentages first. If B is 60%, then the A percent has to be 40. And if 100% is 700, and 40% of that is 280, then 60% would have to be 420. So B is equal to 420. Alright, B tells us, practice problem B, I'm sorry, tells us the 162 is 75%, but it doesn't give us the of what? We've got to find the number at 100%. So real quickly we can fill in that C has to be 25%. But now here we've got the diagram, we're going to have to do an equation to find that out, and we're going to say 162 is 75% of A. Alright, so to get A by itself, we're going to convert and multiply. And we'll do the same thing over here. And we cancel those out. And I'm going to reduce this 100 over 75 to 4 over 3. Because I think that would make my math a little easier. So 4 over 3 times 162. 162 times 4 is, let's see, 162 648. And 648 divided by 3. That will go 2. That will go 1. And that will go 6. So 216 is our B. And to find A, we just simply add A and B, the B and the 162 here. So 162 plus 216 is 378. So A would be 378. Sorry, that got a little bit confusing there, maybe a lot of work in little spaces, but hopefully you followed it. Okay, we're going to work this out as an equation. 40% of what number is 160? Again, we're going to invert and multiply. Cross cancel where we can. 1 and 4. N equals 4 times 100, which is 400. Now it says to draw a diagram. Alright, so 400 is our 100% number. It's the before. And now after we have split that 400 into two amounts, we've got a 40% and a 60%. And we know that 40% is 160. So to find what 60% is, we would say 400 minus 160 is 240. So 240 would be 60% of 400. So that's what your book wants you to do. Your directions say to work the problem, solve it, and then draw the diagram. Well, let's do the same thing here. 70%, remember to always write that as a fraction, of 700 is what number? Now here we've already got n by itself, so we're really just doing the math. And here we can cross cancel. That'll be a 1, and that will be a 7. And 70 times 7 is 490. So to draw our diagram, we've got 490 is the before. It's at 100%. And then we've got that percentage broken up into 70% and 30%. I'm sorry, got something wrong here. That 490 is not at 100. The 700 is what would be the 100%. And we said that 490 is 70%. So we need to find what is 30%. Then we can say 700 minus 490 is 210. So 210 is 30%. Alright, good job. Need to see this in your notes next time I do a notebook check. Those of you working online, do keep a notebook. It's important that you have those references to go back to from time to time as you need them. It's a little bit easier to do that than to flip back through the book. Alright, I'll see you next time for lesson 72.